Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to One Piece, episodes 962 to 965. So, last time we started Act 3 of Wano, and we started some flashbacks to the time of Kozuki Oden. We got to see basically how he met Kinemon and how the other retainers started coming in to play. Got to see a young Otsuru as well. And just kind of like learning about the past, learning about the histories of things. We also had things start to go wrong for the current day mission on stopping Kaido and the Shogun Orochi, because Orochi had an insider who gave him the information about this entire plan, and it allowed him to blow up the bridges, stopping the extra reinforcements from coming, as well as just destroying all chances of this plan really working at all. So, yeah, current day things are going bad, but in the past, we're just starting to learn about things. And the opening obviously did spoil that. Like, the current opening did show us stuff from the past. We see Roger in the opening, we see Whitebeard in the opening. I believe we see Kozuki Oden as well. But the point is, like, all of this stuff was like spoiled, so it's not a big surprise we're seeing stuff from the past. I'm just interested to see where it goes because we've had little bits and pieces throughout the series of these kinds of characters and their pasts and whatnot. Roger, as a big example of that, we've seen like little bits and pieces of it, and as the series goes along, we get to see more and more and get to see in more detail the stuff Roger has done and whatnot. But I think this is going to be a much bigger case of that. And this kind of goes in what was being said by Oda. Oda had said that there is probably only a few years left with this series. I think the number he said was 5. That the series will be ending, or at least is said to be ending within the next 5 or so years. Now, I mean, obviously anything can change with that, but the point is that he's planning on starting to get ready to close it out. Which makes sense with where we're at right now. We're taking on the Emperors. So with this saga of the series focusing so heavily on that, it's like there's not much left after that point. You have the Navy, of course. You have this mysterious figure that we saw briefly before, I guess, heading the Navy, or the world government in general. But you have a lot of this kind of stuff that's being set up, but at the same time, there's not a lot left. Like, we have Big Mom and Kaido already for the Emperors. We're going to be moving on to Blackbeard and Shanks if we're going to continue this route. And it's like, if we're moving on to Blackbeard and Shanks, that's a big deal because Blackbeard's kind of been painted as one of the main villains of this entire series, and Shanks is kind of one of the just icons of the show. The guy who inspired Luffy and the one who we've been wanting to see get into action in the current day and really have a big role to play. And the closest we got was Marineford, but even with that, it's like he just kind of came in and stopped the war and didn't actually do too much otherwise. But if we are getting close to that happening, to where Luffy reunites with Shanks and we see a friendly but serious fight between them, that's going to be huge. That's going to be a massive moment in the series. And honestly, getting close to the end with something like that makes the most sense. So the fact that we're getting a lot more info on the past eras and stuff here, I think we're definitely going to be reaching that point where we're going to be entering the end game of this series. Not necessarily the final arc, but like the final overall part of the series. Um, and that's both sad but exciting. This series has been going on since the late '90s, and so it needs to wrap up eventually. But at the same time, you don't want to see it go because it's so great. And granted, again, we still have years to go, no matter what. But the fact that we're in that last act of the series, or are going to be entering it soon at least, is saying something. And you know, things are going to have to get much bigger and much grander and much more exciting because of that. There's going to be a lot to look forward to, but it's also going to be sad once it does start to really hit that we're nearing the end. Just the fact that we're getting a lot more info and a lot more notable scenes with characters like flashback scenes with characters like Roger and Whitebeard and whatnot, it is proof enough that they're wanting to, or Oda's really wanting to, like, wrap some things up or start to explain some things, start to give us information that we've wanted to know. So I'm just wondering exactly what else we're going to find out during this act of Wano. What else we're going to find out during these flashbacks to the past about Roger, about Odin, about all of these characters, really. I'm very excited to see what Oda has in store for us here. Because there's so much I feel that could be done here that could really just revolutionize where this is going to go. And I'm excited. I'm hyped. And I'm just wondering how this is all going to go down. I guess we'll have to find out. I guess we'll have to just watch and find out. Now, we are almost caught up. Um, with the episodes I have downloaded currently, which I don't know if they're entirely up to date. I think there might be one or more episodes, one or two episodes after what I've got downloaded currently. But after this set, there's only one more set of four. So, based on the time I release these, because of the time I'm recording this and everything as well, I like within the next couple weeks, I think I'm going to be caught up. So, as I've stated before, I just want to state again, I want to let you guys know, remind you, once we get caught up, we are just continuing on with one episode a week. We're not like replacing One Piece or anything. The slot will remain One Piece indefinitely, basically. And we'll just react to the episodes as they come out. And if there's any weeks where there are no episodes that week, like the show takes a break for whatever reason, in that situation, then we would just not have an episode of One Piece to upload that week. It's as simple as that. But that's another thing I'm both excited and sad for. Because once we get caught up, that means we only have one episode a week. And it's like, it's going to be so much less than I'm used to for reacting. I'm used to recording these 4 episodes at a time. So it's going to be a lot less and a lot different in terms of recording for this series. But I'm also excited to finally be caught up again for the first time in years and years. And it's like, that's exciting to me. And I'm glad that we did this the way we did with the One Piece weeks and the 4 episodes a week for these videos. It's really just increased my love for this series to a point it hasn't been at in a long time. Because admittedly, even though I've always loved this series, I've kind of gone through these ups and downs with it, kind of like these rolling hills. I don't know what I'm trying to like explain it with my hand here. um, but you get the idea. Like imagine it on a graph. It's like there's these high points where I'm really into the series. It's like I'm really loving it. I'm loving what's going on, and I'm just top hype. I'm like getting all kinds of fan art saved and whatnot. I'm sharing stuff around, but then it like there's points where it's like slid down to here, and I've still liked it at those points, but it's like I've focused on other things and I've gotten behind on episodes and whatnot, and it's just kind of dragged a little bit for me. But then it goes back up again soon after. So it's like it's kind of like that with my interest in this series, and right now it's definitely at a peak, and probably I would say at a higher peak than it's ever been. My love for this series has grown exponentially since we started reacting to it again, and especially with the advent of Wano coming in. Wano has just been so top tier for this show that it's just blown my love for the series completely to new heights. And that's amazing, and I love that. And I'm not saying that Whole Cake Island didn't really do that kind of thing either. Whole Cake Island was fantastic too, but Wano just definitely kind of is a highlight for me for this entire series. And it's just proven to be just that damn good. I love the structure, I love the characters, I love a lot, just most of it. um, but yeah, I'm definitely excited to have gotten to this point with all of you. Definitely excited to have gotten to the point where we're almost caught up. And I'm glad that you guys have stuck with me with this and have been enjoying the reactions as well for those who have been watching them. And yeah, hopefully that continues for as long as it will. um, and I'm just going to announce it now. There will be something special, One Piece related, I will be reacting to once we catch up. Like once we actually hit that point where we are fully caught up and like we'll be reacting episode by episode each week. There is something that I've been holding off on reacting to that I've wanted to check out that I never have in terms of One Piece, and that will be put onto the channel. I will record it, I'll put it onto the channel. I won't tell you what it is yet, though. I only barely know what it is myself, admittedly. So look forward to that coming within the next couple weeks, honestly. Um, it'll just be a random video posted on the channel, like whenever I get to it, basically. So there won't be any schedule for it, but just letting you know ahead of time. But either way, I'm excited to get to this, so we should probably get into the reaction now and see what these next 4 episodes have in store. So, when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episodes. So, that being said, thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you at the reaction. And we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. I really like this set of episodes. Like, I was admittedly a little concerned about these flashbacks taking up too much time and everything, and not being as interesting as the main stuff going on in the current day. I was wrong. I was wrong about the interest factor. Um, Especially with Whitebeard and now Roger coming into play and everything, and seeing Odin's journey outside of Wano, how he meets Toki and everything, and even giving birth to Momonosuke and Hiyori, which happened outside of Wano, which actually surprised me. It surprised me that he was gone for that long. Um, but yeah, we get to see just the really interesting fun of the entire situation, of the entire journey that Odin had gone through during this time. Now we know he and his family do return eventually to Wano. Um, but we also do know he does travel with Roger for a period of time. And although we didn't see Toki and the children at that point, they might still be there. The others might have stayed with Whitebeard. I don't know. Izo definitely probably did, just because again we know that he's with Whitebeard in the modern era. So, um, but yeah, we also get to see a bit of Orochi's past, finding out about how everything kind of went down with that. We find out that Orochi was a member of the Kurazumi clan, which we already knew, mind you, but that the clan had been kind of stripped of their title and hunted down because of how previous members of the clan had acted and what they had done. So Orochi, at one day after being chased, meets these two old people, this woman and man, inside an abandoned shack, who are very much implied to also be members of the same clan. He meets them in the shack, though, and they start helping him formulate this idea, this plan to take over the country. Because apparently, the Kurazumi clan, I think it was specifically his grandfather, Orochi's grandfather, had tried to poison all the leaders of Wano to take over and everything as part of a power dispute. And apparently, this old woman's trying to paint it off as being just and right, which is no. But apparently, like, the fact that Odin's father was born ruined their plans, and now, like, this old woman is blaming Sakiaki, I think his name is, um, and getting Orochi to do the same for, and they're blaming them for their clan's current predicament, as well as just not being, in control or anything. So it's basically, it's not trying to make us feel bad for Orochi and the Kurazumi clan. It's more along the lines of trying to make us honestly dislike them even more by showing that all of this had been planned for far longer, and it was all due to greed and just this sense of self-importance that these members of the clan, at least this old lady and Orochi, have. Um, and considering where we know this goes, for all the people who had the defective smiles forced on them, for all of the people victimized by Orochi and Kaido, it's like we clearly see here that this is not meant to garner any kind of understanding, or rather, it's not meant to make us feel bad for Orochi, but it's meant to more show us what led to the situations that are at hand currently. And we even see that this old lady has the clone fruit, which, let me look this up here real quick. I want to make sure on this because I swear that's the same fruit that Bentham has. All I have to do is look up Bentham's profile to know. Because I swear I remember that in order to use the devil fruit, though, he had to first touch someone. and that anyone he touches he can transform into, but he has to touch one cheek to transform and one cheek to transform back. But maybe that isn't always a thing. I don't know. So let me see here. Yeah, it's showing right here him touching the one side of his face to transform. Anyone he's touched with his right hand. He transforms himself by touching his own face with his right hand and changes back to normal by touching with his left. He not only duplicates faces, but can memorize and perfectly duplicate entire physical appearance and voice as well. Now it's listing it here as the Mane Mane no Mi, so let me just check to see if that is the clone fruit. Yes, it is. So that means at some point this old lady died, which, I mean, she's an old lady already back in that flashback, so that's not out of the question. But at some point she died, and her devil fruit kind of went back into the circulation as it goes. Just the same as what happened with Ace's devil fruit after his death. And at some point Bentham got it. But I wonder why she doesn't have to touch her face, because none of the times where she's transforming does she touch her face. So that's really interesting. But one of the people she transformed into, like when showing off her power, was Shiki. And it's like, yeah, I know Shiki's canon as a character, even if the events of Strong World aren't. But it's still just really wild seeing just Shiki's face randomly pop up in the series, you know? Um, but yeah, it's really interesting to see where that's gone with that. Um, I'm wondering if we're going to get more information on all of that at any point. And how exactly is the entire takeover going to happen? Because we know that Sakiaki wanted to leave Wano to his son. He wanted Odin to become the new shogun. But since Odin wasn't there at the moment, he had he had Orochi become a proxy. So since Orochi was only a proxy at the time, though, he technically was not shogun. He didn't have the full power and the full title. So at what point does he eventually take that over? And when he does, is it revealed that this was all a plan? Is his plan revealed, and is that just does that just come to a head? Um, the old woman did mention that they were trying to get money for guns. So they are, from what I can tell, planning a full takeover. I'm just wondering exactly how and when it's going to happen. And just the details surrounding that. We also haven't seen what happened with the retainers still at Wano after Odin leaving. We only know of the three that came with. Izo, who kind of jumped at Odin trying to stop him, and then Dogstorm and Cat Viper, who stowed away. The others we have not seen since Kinemon first found out about Odin going missing and everything. Since that moment, we have not seen how they've reacted at all, what they've been doing. Has Kinemon, has he become a kind of proxy for Odin working in Curry? Or have they all like kind of been working in that role in a way? I'm genuinely curious as to how that's going to turn out. I'm very excited to find out, though. And I'm definitely very excited to find out more going forward. Um, but yeah, that was just really interesting in and of itself, giving us some development and more character to one of our main villains of this arc. Kind of just strewn in here with all this other backstory. The interactions between Odin and Whitebeard are fantastic. They have a great chemistry. They work really well off of each other. And I really like seeing just the instant respect Whitebeard gained for Odin, and even how that respect even built up further from Odin's determination to not let go. And you could tell, like, even like after that, even though he was only a few minutes away, like Whitebeard was, you could tell, thinking about, should I just let him join anyway? Because all the other crew were saying like, oh, he's only a few minutes away, why can't you just let him join anyway, and everything. And it's like, and then they find out he's gone and everything because he had heard Toki calling for help and everything, and went to go save her. And so they find where he went, and it's like, oh yeah, you're part of the crew now. And he eventually gets made the second division commander. Like I mentioned, that's the same position that Ace had um, prior to his death. So that's really cool. That's creating another level of comparison to the modern era. Um, I really like seeing these comparisons, whether in the mid card or just based on our knowledge of the characters that we've seen throughout this series, and how they compare and connect to the ones from these flashbacks. Um, we obviously get to see a little bit of young Shanks and young Buggy, because we get to see Roger in this. We get to see a younger Rayleigh and Crocus as well. Um, just all these characters we had seen before, and we're really getting more of and more of with these flashbacks. With the Whitebeard Pirates, we get to see the likes of a young fucking Blackbeard. We get to see young Marshall D. Teach and how he first joins the crew. We get to see this octopus dude who I completely forgot was in Marineford. I just, his character just didn't, I guess, stand out that much to me back then. But we get to see like where he first comes in. We get to see young Marco, who was a lot goofier and sillier than he is in the more modern day. I mean, yes, he's still fun loving and everything to a degree, but he became a lot more serious as he aged, for sure. um, but it's wild to see all these like these characters that we know and we've already met, but seeing them in a different light, in a different respect, and in a different regard. And I love that. I love that this series can still surprise me. I love that Oda can still surprise me and bring back these characters who we've known and who we've loved, and bring them back in a different way. Make us see them in a different light, or make us, or just expand on that knowledge, expand on that character, on that depth that they've already had, and making them even better. Like, we already liked Whitebeard back when he was a notable character in the pre-time skip. Um, we liked him, and we saw him fight in Marineford, and we enjoyed his connections to his crew, seeing them as his family. Like, that was all great, but getting to see more of that here, and again, seeing his interactions with his crew more, like, we got to see a little bit of that in the pre-time skip. Like, we got to see how he viewed his crew as his family, and we got to see just how tight knit they were, but we didn't really get to see a lot of their just regular day to day interactions. It was a lot of big stuff happening in the pre time skip stuff. But seeing their day to day interactions here, how they're just like laughing and making fun of each other, and how Whitebeard gets embarrassed at certain points with what they're talking about and everything. It's wonderful. It's great to see that. Um, I just love seeing them poking fun at him like that, and his reactions to it. Um, it, it just, it helps them feel more like regular main characters in a way. It helps them feel more human in a way. Like, you can compare them much more notably now to like the Straw Hats and stuff. You see how the Straw Hats poke fun at each other and like jokingly insult each other or get on each other's nerves all the time. And you can definitely see that in the way that crews like the Whitebeard Pirates and the Roger Pirates interact with each other. And it's just, these mid cards are so fitting because of it, showing those comparisons, those comparable situations between characters from our main crew and characters from the past, these legendary pirates. It's it's humanizing. It humanizes these larger than life characters who we've seen as these massive icons, these huge legendary figures of the pirate world, and it brings them down to our level in a very important way. And it's like, it just goes to show that when people talk about how phenomenal Oda's world building and character writing is, this is the kind of example that we need to be pointing to with that. This is the kind of example that shows that his world building and character writing is next level. The stuff that most mangakas out there would only dream of doing with their shows or with their series. Like, you watch all these other series and they may be great, but they just do not reach this kind of level of depth, development, character building, growth. All of it is just done to so much higher of a degree in this series comparatively to like My Hero Academia, Dragon Ball Z, Naruto, etc., etc., etc. And I'm not saying that those series necessarily do bad. Those, though, to be fair, Dragon Ball Z is not great with that kind of stuff. That is definitely not a strong point of Dragon Ball Z. Naruto a little more so, but still nowhere near the level. Bleach nowhere near the level. Even My Hero Academia, which I praise for its character writing, which I praise for its great development and depth of its characters, and even for, to a lesser degree, building out its world and making it feel alive. Even something like that cannot hold a candle to One Piece's world building and character writing. It's that much of a higher level, and Oda just astounds me that this many years into it, multiple decades of writing this series, and still in the current day, in with these modern chapters, episodes, however you take this content in, I guess just say chapters in terms of how it's originally presented and written. It's still at this point, decades in, it's still doing this, and better than ever. It's still developing and building and just expanding upon these characters and worlds in such a unique, fascinating, and important way. It makes everything feel richer and more connected, and for a series like this that is built on adventure and built on characters and built on this amazing world that Oda has crafted, that kind of stuff is important. It's necessary. And that's the thing. Oda crafted this world that requires exceptional high level character writing. It requires things to be connected on very deep levels, and most authors and mangakas would not be able to get it to that level. It would be too daunting of a task because you have to do so much to make everything come together perfectly. Oda does that. It's just like when you think you know where this series is going, when you think you've seen the best of Oda's writing, he just pulls shit like this out of his ass and just slaps it into your face like, take this, take this. You know, these characters who you've loved from years and years ago. Remember Whitebeard? Well, let's go back into his past. Let's examine his character and his connections with his crew and show you how it connects to the modern day story. That is so fucking brilliant. this arc is definitely my favorite. Like I'm not holding it back. It's like this arc Wano is definitely my favorite of the series. It just it outclasses everything. Even with the modern day stuff, the stuff currently going on with Luffy and the crew, it's not just because of this flashback content, which is great and I love it, but it's everything that's coming together. It's everything that's working together. These flashbacks almost seem like they come out of nowhere, but they're here to give backstory and depth to the situations of the current day. Like you're starting to see through what's going on with Odin and Orochi and everything, you're starting to understand more and more of why the retainers are fighting so heavily in the current day to stop Orochi and Kaido. You're seeing how Orochi had this plan set in motion long, long ago, and you're seeing how, because of that, he needs to be stopped even more. And you're seeing these connections again be brought into characters like Roger and Whitebeard, these legendary pirates, these huge names considered amongst the best of all time. And you're seeing how they're even brought into things. And so you see, it helps allow you to see how big of a deal Odin was, which again helps you see why it's such a big deal that Orochi and Kaido are stopped in the current day. It all comes together. Everything builds into each other. And it's so fucking brilliant. Like I'm sorry for fangirling so hard over this, but it's so fucking impressive to me that it's unbelievable. I, I'm in just legitimate shock and awe as this series continues and we see all of this shit. And you go back and watch stuff from well in the past. You go back, you see Thriller Bark, and you hear Wano mentioned for the first time, and Kaido mentioned for the first time during that arc as well, because that's who Gecko Moria had been running from in the New World. And it's like you get to hear all kinds of stuff brought up so early, and then you see in the current day how it's all been brought into play. I I'm going to stop fangirling so hard. I am. I am. I just love what this arc is doing. I love all the stuff we're getting to see with Odin and with even Orochi, Roger, Whitebeard. It's building so much. I'm liking these new characters who are being really introduced, or characters who we had very briefly and very minimally met in the past, like Izo, and getting to see them expanded upon, or characters like Toki who are new, but we're getting to see just these new great characters be introduced as well, and just stuff we never knew about. Um, and it's really good just from a viewing experience too. I'm having fun with it. I'm enjoying it. I love seeing Whitebeard interact with the others. I love seeing Odin be his goofy ass self. I love see Toki just like completely fall head over heels for Odin. And just seeing Momonosuke and Hiyori born, it's just like hell yeah. It's awesome to see. It's awesome to see all this stuff, and it's just it's fun. It's enjoyable. Getting to see Odin fight Whitebeard, getting to see Whitebeard start to fight Roger. It's just like this is the kind of stuff I love to see in this series. Getting to see these characters introduced and these actions well in the past that just kind of dictated where things went in the future. It's like, yeah, I love seeing this kind of stuff. I love even theorizing about how this could go down, or how all of these characters, where they went from this point. Like I was talking about with Izo, like how he eventually ended up joining the Whitebeard Pirates permanently into the current day. We're getting to see like kind of where that's going to, and we know that eventually Odin and Toki and them return to Wano, and I'm just wondering how that's going to end up going down, and what's going to happen when they do get back, and Orochi refuses to give up the power. How is that all going to go down? It's getting the gears turning too. It's not just hype in the moment and hype because of stuff from the past coming together with it. It's hype because of what it could mean for the future. We're getting to see these little kernels that kind of tell us, like, oh, this is going to be important, but how? Something is happening here. And the cogs in our minds start turning, and we're wondering, like, how is this going to occur? How we know this is going to happen, but how is it going to happen? What's going on with Kinemon during all of this? And stuff like that. How does Orochi eventually end up forming the alliance with Kaido? Stuff that we know happens, but we just don't know the details on how and why. And all of this stuff, getting to see these flashbacks, are kind of giving us that kind of excitement to see what happens going forward in these episodes. So, yeah, it sucks that we're almost caught up because I want to keep like just bombing through these and seeing more and more and getting more and more of this awesome stuff. But at the same time, again, it's exciting to finally be pretty much caught up again. It's been so long for me since I have been. Um, but yeah, yeah. Uh, Either way, I'm going to cut this off here now because I've been fangirling too hard for too long. Either way, tell me in the comments below what you thought of these episodes of One Piece. And thank you all so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.